Hello and welcome to another episode of the Silk and Steel podcast. I am your host, Carl Zha. Today we have a very special guest, AgitPapa. Now, he's a man I have been following on Twitter for a long time since the Syrian war. During the Syrian war, I try to follow all sides. I try to follow the jihadis, the Kurds, all the State Department accounts, and the Syrian government accounts, pro-Syrian governments. I try to just get as much viewpoint as possible. But one person that always produce like trustworthy analysis is this Agit Papa account on Twitter. Unfortunately, I believe he's on protected status now on Twitter. You have to go find his handle and follow him. But this is also his Facebook profile you can follow. So welcome everybody. Welcome Ajit Papa to the show. Ajit Papa, how are you?
Fine, thanks, Carl, and thanks for inviting me. So why am I protected? Why am I anonymous? I mean, everybody's getting arrested for their tweets now in Europe and in the US. So why am I so special? I'm not actually, but Edward Snowden warned us about this. He said, take precautions, and that's what I did. He said this is going to happen to you, and it's happening. So anyway, that's why I'm keeping my identity secret. So let's get into the topic. This is my VK page on it's a Russian site, vKontakte, and that's where I keep my blog. And this is about the current dichotomy in the U.S. administration. They can't seem to make up their minds about anything. They keep contradicting themselves. They keep flip-flopping. And well, the reason behind this is sort of profound. I mean, it's a thing that happens to all empires. And this is where I got this Roman statue here. This is from the Tetrarchy period. That's after the crisis of the 3rd century. Emperor Diocletian, he set up 4 emperors because he couldn't control the whole thing anymore. He couldn't control the empire anymore. It was going to pieces. So he put 3 of his trusted generals in different corners of the empire so he could keep it all under control. It didn't work out. They started fighting each other, and finally it all ended up with the great battle between Constantine and Maxentius in Rome. And it was at the end, it was just one emperor, Constantine, but that didn't save the empire. I mean, it kept declining. It kept declining in the east. The west, it went in another direction. Finally, the west, under the Pope, fought the east. I mean, the Fourth Crusade in 1202. Invaded Constantinople and plundered it. And the statue was in Constantinople. The picture you see here, it was in Constantinople. It was taken by the Crusaders and transported to Venice, which is where it is now, except one piece which is still in Constantinople. So I mean, this is what a multi-headed leadership, what the Germans call Zweikaiserproblem. That's what happens in an empire when you have multiple-headed leadership. Okay, so now we know, since the debate that Biden isn't leading the U.S. empire. So who is? We had a moment when Jill Biden and Hunter were in the White House, trying to get control of things so Joe wouldn't get kicked out, but he got kicked out anyway. So who kicked him out? Who's leading the show? I mean, what is happening in the U.S.? That's what this article is about. And this isn't new. This has happened before, but never maybe to this extent. Like this guy, Woodrow Wilson. And you see him with his war council, and it's a bunch of bankers. I mean, the bankers were leading the show. And at the end of his term, he was disabled. He had a stroke. He couldn't function. So it was all these guys who were controlling him, who were actually getting the U.S. into the war,
Well, thank you
into
for
the
that
First World War.
very broad expanse of history lessons. And I think what people are interested in today is who is running the show now, because obviously we all know Joe Biden is not running the show. He's not mentally capable. So who is? And the easy answer is the deep state. But then the question arises, okay, who is running the deep state? And why is there so many contradictory policies that's coming out of Washington nowadays? And I think your article really shed light. You present a very interesting analysis on who really is running the show. So maybe we can get into that. Just get to the right into the meat of the thing.
Okay, so Biden, he's not a very top rate man, never was. He was working for Obama before this, and when we see his administration, it's made up of people from Obama's former administration, or people loyal to Obama, and people loyal to Hillary Clinton. So like this woman here, she's a Clintonite. I mean, that's obvious. And like this guy, this is Lloyd Austin after his whatever that was, his operation. He's walking with a cane. Well, he's from Raytheon, so he's also a Clintonite. Um, why does Raytheon connect to Clinton? Well, let's see. I got this slideshow here, which explains it. Where'd it go? I had this Clinton slideshow. Oh yeah, here it is. Hillary's the candidate of the war machine. Sorry, let's go back. Donors got weapon deals from Hillary Clinton's State Department. Why isn't the arrow working on this? Oh, there it is. Rakes and clash from the weapons industry, and she's getting free flights from Lockheed. And her advisors are this guy Petraeus, and of course all the other people around Petraeus, like Stan McChrystal. The guy who putsched coup, or you say coup nowadays. The guy who putsched Obama. Forced him to approve the Afghanistan surge. He
Well,
didn't want to do it, Obama. Sorry?
people who may have short memories, a lot of Americans do. Stanley McChrystal, he was in charge of the Afghanistan operation during Obama administration, and there was an infamous Rolling Stone article that later got turned into a movie starring Brad Pitt. And it was really odd article because in the article, Stanley Crystal basically said he basically gives a middle finger to Obama. I mean, and very soon after that, he was, of course, very publicly sacked. So it was a very weird. I remember this incident because it's really weird. It was like very public disagreement uh, by a commander in field with supposedly commander in chief Obama. So maybe you can tell us what was that about?
Well, Obama, he didn't want to escalate the war in Afghanistan. But there was a certain clique, let's say, of which Hillary Clinton was a part, that wanted to do it. And Clinton, well, she was always, she'd been pals with McChrystal and what's his name, Petraeus, for a long time. I mean, she was very interested in the military from her early youth. And she got really, really tight with these guys. And it was their common plan to escalate the thing. Pour in more troops, raise the place to the ground, so on. And they were also behind this the rise of JSOC. You remember JSOC? These
Yes.
guys who used to break in doors all the time. Crash people in their homes. Kill everybody. Yeah, so that was that crazy Obama period where he lost all control. And then he
It,
lost even more control in Libya, where Hillary was running this, rat line, sending jihadis and guns to Syria from Libya, from the so-called embassy in Benghazi, and it blew up in her face. And in the end, she got kicked out, and Petraeus got disgraced, and it all wound down. In second term, in his second term, Obama didn't have to worry about these guys anymore.
was
So
that
anyway,
what happened in Syria? Because I did remember, um, like there was a time in Obama administration, there was really a strong push for U.S. to get involved directly in the Syrian war against the Syrian government, and Obama was very obviously resistant to that. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on Obama
yeah,
I mean, there was all these like fake chemical weapon attacks. Supposedly, the supposedly Bashar al-Assad used gas, and this is why United States must get involved. Was that the part of the fighting between the Clinton faction and the Obama?
yeah. I mean, this the schism it started long before during the Obama administration. I mean, you know, Obama and his backers, they prevented, they pulled all sorts of dirty tricks on Clinton during the primaries. They really pushed her out of the race. And I mean, there was no love lost between the two. And when she came in, I mean, she came in with a sort of occupation army. I mean, she had this huge staff with her when she came into the administration. And nobody could figure out why Obama invited this woman in, you know? Oh, like, but that's where, you said, is it the deep state? Well, the deep state is Obama. He's a CIA guy. You can read it in Wayne Madson's book. I mean, his mother's CIA, his parents are CIA. He worked for the CIA. So he's the deep state. Now, the other faction is the arms manufacturers, the military industrial complex. That's Clinton. So you have two factions here. Yeah. Now, during the Cold War, there was uh, no such conflict because all the policy was made by the Rand Corporation, and it was run through the Pentagon. They okayed it, and it was smooth sailing. I mean, there were known authorities, people like Wohlstetter. They were respected, and nobody fought over it. But then the military industrial complex said, hey, this isn't the way to maximize profits. We can do it a better way. We just buy some generals, buy Congress, and then we could write our own laws, write our own procurement bills, and that's how we make money. Forget about all this national security shit. We can do it ourselves, and that's where the conflict started between the two because the interests of the military industrial complex you know, don't always meet those of the national security apparatus. They want different things. It's not about the bottom line always. It's not about Lockheed's bottom line. That doesn't always make a case in point is the F-35. I mean, it's a disaster. And it's maximizing Lockheed's profits, but it's a disaster for the U.S. and its empire. They had to get rid of all the aviation that actually worked, all their jets that actually worked, and replace it with this dodo. So that's fundamentally where the primary clash is in the empire at the moment. There's also the third factor, the populist factor. Trump. That's the third force that they have to deal with. So they joined forces during the you know, there was this conflict in the Obama administration between Hillary and Obama. And then there was a conflict between Hillary and Obama joined, as an alliance versus Trump during the Trump administration. They tried to topple him. They produced. I got this big chart here. You saw it. Where is it? This RussiaGate chart.
Ah, yes.
Uh,
Yes.
this was a joint Obama and Clinton deal. I mean, like they paid for the
And
Steele dossier together.
And
They
this
both
was
paid.
all triggered by kind of the leak of Hillary email, right? And then they brought in CrowdStrike and saying that was a Russia hack. It was Russia that's behind basically slandering Clinton and putting Trump in power. And CrowdStrike, if people remember, very recently they brought down almost the
Yeah,
entire global infrastructure on Microsoft Windows. It's those guys. Yeah.
there was that, and there was also the fact that the NSA was providing the FBI with wiretaps. I don't know if you call them wiretaps anymore. I mean, they tap so many things. Um, and but there were rules about what you could unmask and what you couldn't unmask in that data. And the FBI, you needed permission from the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court to unmask U.S. citizens in the data that was in the surveillance data from the NSA.
So
But the
where
FBI
did
didn't bother with that. Huh?
sorry
Sorry?
to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt, but where did the British come in? Because during the Russiagate, the British intelligence was heavily involved in the whole Russiagate hoax. I mean, they
Yeah,
they are the ones. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. So that's this section here, the British connection. Uh, Sorry, I'm sort of I tend to get short of breath because I got asthma. Anyway, they got involved because just what I was telling you about. The NSA provided this data to the FBI. The FBI, broke the law by unmasking U.S. citizens, and they also subcontracted the work to people like Fusion GPS and CrowdStrike, which is totally illegal. And the NSA got wind of this, and they went to complain to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. And the FBI found out that they were doing this. They had to get the FISA court to approve their snooping on the opposition. They needed a warrant from the court, to make it all legal. Otherwise, they were doing something illegal there. They were committing a crime. So that's when the Steele dossier came in. That was the proof that they put in front of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court to show that the Obama administration was compromised, that the Russians were they were having dealings with Russians and so on. That's what it was. First they tried this guy. What was his name? Carter Page. First they tried this angle. He was giving conferences in Russia or something, and they said, "Oh yeah, Carter Page, he's a Russian agent." And then that didn't work. They tried the Papadopoulos sting in London. They set up this fake school here, totally fake, and they brought in all these guys. These are all MI6 agents, assets rather, not agents, assets. And the whole thing was being directed by people like this former MI6 director and the current MI6 director here, who, by the way, the CI director Brennan, he told him to set up surveillance on Trump. That was another branch. That was a different branch from the FBI. They also set up surveillance on Trump through the Brits, who weren't, they don't have any parliamentary oversight over their activities, so they can do whatever they want. So anyway, just on the very day that the NSA director went into the Foreign Surveillance court to depose his complaint about the FBI. The FBI brought in the Steele dossier to get the warrant, and they got the warrant before the other guys complained. I mean, it was a matter of hours. It was very interesting. So that's where the Steele dossier came. That's the reason why they went after this whole charade. Okay. Um, anything you want to ask at this point?
No, no, I'm
No.
good. I'm good. Oh, so
So anyway,
how did so we know about the schism between Obama and Hillary now, and we know about the collusion to try to overthrow Trump. Now,
yeah.
how did that carry over into Biden administration? Where we are now?
Well, they stole the election, obviously, and the Trump had won, but they brought in all those fake ballots and so on. And the new administration was completely a construct of let's say a merger between Obama, deep state Obama, and military and industrial complex Hillary. It was a merger of the two. And just as they couldn't get along before, they can't get along now. I mean, it's the same thing. In Russia, for example, Hillary's clique, uh, with this woman who actually, set installed the Maidan fascists in Kiev, and and then she kept on being active in prosecuting this war against Russia.
People who couldn't see the zoom onto the picture. That's a picture of Victoria Newland distributing bagels
Cookies.
in Maidan Square.
Yeah.
So the fuck you Newland, yeah.
um, yeah, what was I saying? Right. I mean, you can see the schism now in the Ukraine policy, which has just made another total 180-degree turnaround. Uh, so this Hillary, through her British connection, which she had established here with all the spooks, the British spooks. I mean, she had a high-level connection with them. Um, well, she still used that during the Ukraine affair. Well, why did she use that and not the Pentagon? Because the Pentagon wouldn't comply with her demands. The Pentagon was, had its own worries. Like I don't see if you can see the caption. If I know, you can't see the caption. Oops. Can you read the caption here?
I have to really zoom in. The U.S.
Okay.
Top General Charles Brown called the Seversky-Kursk offensive the most expensive photo booth in history, according to Politico. Brown accused the Ukrainian military of being incapable of performing real combat missions, but only capable of taking selfies.
Okay, so this is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying this. So you can see what the Pentagon's attitude here is. And I wasn't expecting him from this guy because he's an Air Force guy. I mean, he should be with the military industrial complex because they buy all that crap all the time. But he's turned out to be he not at all gung ho about this war. Uh, so it was the same thing with Myers. I mean, Hillary couldn't get him to cooperate with her. I mean, she wanted jets, she wanted tanks. He wouldn't send them. He kept foot dragging. And when I say she, of course, I'm talking about the State Department because she controls it.
So
And
what So is that Blinken and Jake Sullivan? I mean, because Jake Sullivan is obviously her
yeah,
crony
yeah, yeah.
because we know from the leak email, Jake Sullivan back during Syrian war, Jake Sullivan was the one who telling Clinton that, oh, by the way, Al Qaeda in Syria is on our side, right? So
Yeah.
and he was probably lining up to be on her National Security Council in 2016 if she had won the presidency. But now he just got grandfather into Biden presidency. But is Blinken also a Clinton creature as well?
Well, he's a Biden creature.
Mm,
But where does Biden stand? That's the problem here is, I mean, Biden is supposed to be an Obama guy, but he's also deeply involved in Ukraine, all the corruption and stuff. And and of course he's not all there. He's kind of his brain is gone. So it didn't work. I mean, the coalition between Obama and Clinton, that this administration was supposed to be, didn't work out because the guy, he just drifted off into space. With no president left. I mean, it was a difficult job to balance the forces. I think we were talking about Newland, Victoria Newland,
yes.
and the Ukrainian situation.
Yeah.
So anyway, the U.S. embassy not only staged the coup in Kiev, but also controlled the government after that. I mean, they had people in all the ministries. And naturally, they also controlled the war. I mean, they had a big say in which military operations would be planned and so on. Although, of course, there were also NATO officers in the law of, near the Polish border who were, actually directing things, were actually giving the commands. I mean, they have these underground bunkers over there. They got hit by Russian missiles several times. So, yeah, and when things didn't go their way, they planned provocations all the time, to escalate it and to expand the war to get NATO involved. I mean, they attacked the Zaporizhia nuclear plant. They have this ongoing naval offensive against Russian ports on the Black Sea. They're using these naval drones all the time that they launch from Odessa and points nearby, and stuff like that. Of course, attacks on the Russian border, and finally the Kursk offensive. Though I'm not 100% sure that NATO planned that. I mean, it doesn't seem to me like something that NATO would plan. I mean, they planned stupid shit like the 2023 offensive, the spring offensive. But Kursk, it just seems too smart for them. It's not something that I would expect from NATO. I mean, they use the Ukrainians in the Kursk offensive used electronic warfare and drones in completely novel ways, which is beyond NATO's imagination. I mean, they don't know how to do stuff like that. I think it was more, something that an indigenous enterprise from the Ukrainians themselves.
Oh wow. So you're saying like the innovation that came out of the Ukraine war actually wasn't part of the US help. It wasn't part of the kind of the because we know US intelligence is embedded, right? I mean, all the US military hardware is being operated by US personnel like HIMARS and Patriot missiles. But you are saying the innovation part, the using of the drones and stuff, that's done by Ukrainians themselves.
Well, yeah, innovation. Of course, they're using a lot of high-tech stuff, but I mean, it's off-the-shelf stuff from NATO.
Mm.
But the drones, the naval drones, I don't think they're Ukrainian. They might be British.
Mm.
Uh, but this stuff, the electronic warfare and the drones, I mean, the experts are the Ukrainians and the Russians. Nobody else knows this. And of course, China knows a lot about it, but uh, they've evolved this art during the conflict, and both sides are expert at this, and NATO knows nothing about it. I mean, they don't train them in this. They take them to Britain, to this place on their east coast, the military camp, to train them. They never teach them anything about drones. I mean, it's a total waste of time, and they even make them forget what they already know, stuff like that. So, I mean, I don't think this was a part of NATO planning. And I mean, just look at what this guy says, Charlie Brown. And he says it's risible. You know, he's totally negative about it. He has nothing positive to say about it.
But then if not NATO, then is it this is Kursk campaign a purely Ukrainian initiative? Or was it like but what do they gain out of it? Because it doesn't seem that they, you know, what do they hope to gain by put their last remaining well-equipped, well-trained Ukrainian units to basically on a push to die for what, for publicity?
Well, it was either, you know, get ground down slowly in Donetsk. I mean, they were going to lose all those guys anyway in Donetsk in the long run. I mean, the writing on the wall was clear ever since um, you know, they lost their big stronghold near Donetsk. You know, shit, I forget the name of the place. Anyway, uh, the Russian offensive was just you know, continuing towards their main supply hub. And once they lost that, they were going to lose the whole of Donetsk. I mean, everything was going to fall once they lost their main supply hub. So it was just a matter of time before they lost the war anyway. So this was a sort of battle of the bulge, you know, last gasp thing, like the Nazis did to cut off the Allies from Antwerp. And I mean, there was a logical, semi-logical, let's say, aim to this. They were trying to capture the Kursk nuclear power plant.
Hmm.
You know, if they got in there, then they couldn't be bombed out. I mean, they could stay in there indefinitely, and then they could use it as a bargaining chip. I think that was the aim of the operation. I mean, it was a good plan, but I mean, they couldn't. They should have known they couldn't do it covertly. You know, they couldn't. They couldn't hide from the drones. They couldn't hide from satellites. And the Russians knew they were coming, so they set a trap.
Then
Yeah. Anyway, huh?
so I
Yeah.
wanted to maybe this is a little tangent diversion, but why is that Russia has allowed this kind of deep penetration into their territory, and so far Russia, it doesn't look like Russia is moving a lot of units into the Kursk region to deal with this.
Well, they
Is
don't
there
need to. They already killed 60% of them. I mean, they don't need anything more. They're doing fine, and the rest are stuck. You know, they got no transportation. They got no resupply. They're going to die in place or give up or walk back if they can. I don't know. I don't think that's quite possible, but maybe they can try that. And you know, they don't really have anywhere to return to either because Sumy, the place where they came from, is being, you know, bombed to bits. It's really, I mean, even the units that come in for reinforcement, the moment they get off the train at Sumy, they get bombed. So it's like it's total destruction. It's a kill zone. Yeah, we can go into this deeper. I don't know if we have time. I mean, I think that Gerasimov, you know, the Russian chief staff, he planned all this in secret. He didn't tell Putin because Putin wouldn't have never allowed it. I mean, he was very, very angry with this, and he planned this trap. Now, everybody's saying that's not possible. That's a conspiracy theory. But I mean, look at the evidence. You know, hours after they crossed the border, they were already getting airstrikes. They were already getting destroyed en masse, you know, taking huge losses. Hours after they got in over the border. I mean, sure, they made a big show of, you know, capturing all the Rosguardia conscripts. Like, you know, they won a big victory or something. Like, yeah, that was those were acceptable losses. I mean, that was always part of the game to make them think that they were winning. You know, to draw them in, make them send more troops in. The Russians do this a lot. You know, they leave supply routes open so that they're doing this right now in Donetsk. They leave the supply route open into the Kramatorsk kettle so that the Ukrainians can pour more troops in there. Because when they finally close it up, then they can catch they can haul in a bigger catch. So can we go back to this?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's go back.
Anyway, the course provocation. I don't know how much the embassy had to do with this thing because, like I said, it looks like an indigenous Ukrainian effort. But everything before that, I mean, all the drones. Of course, there's NATO behind all the drones that are being sent deep into Russia. The drones that hit Russia's early warning radars. I mean, that was a huge, a huge provocation. It really went over the nuclear red line. It could have started a nuclear exchange. I mean, you remember those, right? They blew up their early warning radars
Yeah,
with drones.
and those are operated by NATO personnel, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah, sure. I mean, they couldn't get there without NATO AWACS and NATO satellites and so on, and because they're threading their way through Russian air defense, So you got, radar satellites up there that can see where the Russian radars are, and they're telling the drones, well, you can do a left here or go straight, turn right, so on.
I mean, there does seem to be like an escalation, right? I mean, before there was a limit, at least a limit on how far deep they can strike using Americans' NATO supplied missiles, but that limit keep on getting pushed further and further into Russian territory. Now, um is that part of this push to escalate by the Hillary Clinton's faction?
Yeah, but yeah, these are the early warning radars that I just talked to you about. These guys here, these on the left. So now that was a big escalation. Now what they want to do is, oops, uh, they want they keep asking for deep strikes, missile deep strikes. They want to hit Moscow with missiles, with storm
That's
shadows and
crazy.
so on.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and over here, U.S. blocks Ukraine from firing British missiles into Russia. There, see, the U.S. blocked it. And at the end of the article, I see that House Obama is in the ascendant as House Clinton takes one hit after another, reeling under yet another massively failed war, which it championed so hard and long. So the war between House Obama and House Clinton, well, right now it's concluded in House Obama's favor. Therefore, they couldn't pull off any bigger provocations than they have until now, as
So
such as
so when they say US block Ukraine from firing British missile into Russia, who in the US are they talking about? Which US? Which faction of the US is blocking Ukraine from
yeah,
firing those missiles?
a very good question. That's what I asked right here, and the answer seems to be deputy spokeswoman for the U.S. Department of Defense. So it's the Pentagon that put its foot down. Says they're worried about escalation over here. And like I said, and as you can see from Charlie Brown's statement up there, the Pentagon does not look kindly on this Kursk invasion at all. Yeah, why doesn't it look kindly on it? Well, we can guess. I mean, they don't have enough ships for the ships or other resources for the China thing. I mean, they have to ask Japan and everybody else for favors. The Philippines are trying to get everybody else involved because they don't have the resources. Uh, like just the other day on Twitter, there's this guy called Armchair Warlord. He tweeted this thing about the what was it? The Sea Lift Command. The U.S. Sea Lift Command has these catamarans for rapid transport of troops and material and so on,
Mhm.
and they're taking them out of service. Also, tankers for to fuel carrier strike groups. Now, if you can't if you can't transport your troops and your tanks and so on to the war zone, I mean, it's going to be on a bunch of islands on all those Japanese islands where the Marines are hoping to operate, and fire their HIMARS missiles at China. If you don't have these catamarans, what are you going to transport them with? I mean, they got a couple of, they got three or four assault ships. They burned one down. So that's what they're limited to. And you can't really ferry equipment with those things if you don't have sea lift. That's
And
already
they
huge. Huh? Sorry?
and they already deploy all their aircraft carriers outside of Pacific, Western Pacific right now. It's they're all moving to Mediterranean or Gulf of Oman to watch
Yeah,
you wrong.
we got one of the assault ships here right now in Turkey.
Mm.
It's moored at Izmir. And there's going to be a big demonstration this evening. And they're here, of course, to protect Israel from Iran and Hezbollah.
Yeah.
So you can see how overstretched they are. I mean, they're stretched to breaking, and pieces are falling off. I mean, when you lose your sea lift command, I mean that's a big piece gone. You can't do anything without sea lift.
But
So I guess that's why this guy is, has become so skeptical about all this, because he wasn't like this when he first got appointed or elected. I don't know how it is. I think they elect him. Uh, yeah, well, so that's the state of play now. I mean, yeah, it's a two-headed administration, but Hillary's lost out again. But she also lost out after Benghazi. I mean, that was a huge pie in the face.
but
When
they just but the Congress just approved like what 100 million uh uh, dollars for Ukraine. I mean, like that's a huge win, right? For military industrial complex. I mean, all the money they promised Ukraine, that's not even going to Ukraine. That's just going directly to the pocket of US arms
yeah,
manufacturers to
yeah,
make
exactly.
weapons.
Yeah, to sell weapons or to upgrade weapons or whatever. But 100 million isn't a lot. I mean, that's peanuts. They usually talk in hundreds of billions or tens of billions at least when in the case of Ukraine. So it's winding down. I mean, the money isn't there anymore. The U.S. has told the Europeans, you're going to pay for this now. And the Germans just said, okay, no more. We can't afford it anymore. So there's nothing more in the budget. Next year you don't get anything. And this is going around. I mean, everybody's run out of money. Everybody's bankrupt. I mean, the European economy is on its knees, and the U.S. isn't doing much better. Whatever it may they may say. I mean, Biden said economy is great, and Kamala says I'm going to fix it. So that's the state of the economy.
But couldn't US just keep printing money? I mean, they have the money printing machine.
Yeah, but I mean, who does that benefit really? I mean, they keep printing, but I mean,
Whoever get the money first. It's the rest of us that are they're left holding the bag,
yeah,
paying through inflation. Uh, yeah.
I mean, rates are going down now, so obviously the money printing is going to increase. But this is a road that Japan has already traveled, and you can see what shape they're in. I mean, Japan is printed money, and it's gone to the U.S. The U.S. is printing money. Well, where's it going? Well, China has $4 trillion in its reserves, and it's going to use it now for its own digital currency. They're going to set up a digital currency exchange in Hong Kong, and it's going to be the finance capital of the world, of at least the BRICS world, which is the majority of humanity. Um, yeah, well, I don't have anything to add there. I'm done.
Well, I mean, I So like it looks like the conflict between Obama's faction and the Hillary faction is still ongoing because the U.S. military industrial complex is not going away. I mean, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon, they're still making tons of money in the Ukraine war. If not, if just from like replenish like the inventory replenishment, because a lot of the weapon that's being shipped directly from NATO inventory to Ukraine, now all this inventory need to be replaced, and that's order for U.S. arms manufacturers. So they're still raking in the money. I mean, they're not really losing. But you're saying like at some point the money is going to run out and they have to wind it up.
Well, like right here, you got Greece buying 40 F-35s, Germany's buying more F-35s. So the Pentagon is actually cutting its orders for F-35s. But there are lots of orders coming from other people who had to give their old planes to Ukraine, the F-16s and so on. So yeah, there's orders coming in, but what's Hillary's position now? I mean, she used to be the number one arms saleswoman. So what's her position now? Because she failed after Benghazi. She had a period of walking in the wilderness, and then she came back with a new administration, and she's failed again now. She pushed hard, she made big waves, and then Newland got fired, and what's his name, Jake Sullivan isn't opening his mouth so much anymore, or he's involved in other things, going for useless trips to China and so on.
But I mean, he's still national security advisor, right? I mean, he's still very part of the team of the administration. We don't know how long that's going to be. He might be out of the job in a few months after the U.S. election. But right now, he's still very much part in the center of power, right?
Uh, Except in these situations where you don't know who is actually giving the orders, where the buck stops, it's all very fluid. I
Mm.
mean, his title may be National Security Advisor, but nobody may be giving much of a damn what he says. Maybe the decisions are made by other people now. Maybe the Pentagon is putting its weight down or something.
So let me push
And,
back on you a little bit. Like we're
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about, okay, I agree with you. I mean, eventually they have to wind down the Ukraine war, and it just seems a big racket where they're just diverting money into the pockets of arms manufacturers. But I mean, that's what they did also in Iraq and Afghanistan, and they after they winded down Afghanistan, they just started another war, a proxy war in Ukraine, doing the thing. I mean, couldn't conceivably they were just gonna wind down in Ukraine, but start conflict elsewhere where they also, gonna make money head over heels in weapon deals. Couldn't they do that?
Yeah, I mean, as long as U.S. politics is a game of lobbies, whoever pays the congressmen the most. I mean, most of the congressmen they work for APAC and the arms manufacturers. I mean, that's clear. That's where they get their money. Um, so as long as that game is played, so of course they're going to start wars. They're going to try. But I
While
think they're
you're
getting, yeah.
while you are here, I want to pick your brains, of course, about what U.S. plans right now for Israel, because this is probably the most watched space at the moment. U.S. is obviously in the area to help defend Israel against Hezbollah and Iran retaliation. But is that as far as U.S. is willing to go? I mean, I listened to Scott Ritter. His position is basically that's U.S. is trying to de-escalate by imposing a limit on how much provocation Israel can do. At the same time, protect Israel from Iranian Hezbollah retaliation, but at the same time constrain Israeli actions. But I'm not sure about that because Israel is just keep on up the ante, right? I mean, Netanyahu after he bombed the embassy, Iranian embassy in Syria, and he went ahead now assassinate Hamas leader in Tehran. I mean, where he very much is in wants to broaden the war. So how do you see U.S. response to that kind of play out?
Uh, first they tried to topple Netanyahu,
Mm.
in collaboration with the army, who are also part of the coalition. But it didn't work. I mean, the guy can't be toppled. He's uncool, unputchable. Uh, and then they tried, trying to scare him by delaying arms shipments and so on. That didn't work. Now the arms faucet is open again because he controls U.S. politics. I mean, it's clear as day. He controls the media. He controls Congress, and a lot of people in the administration also are, beholden to AIPAC. There's not much the U.S. can do. Whatever the Israelis tell them to do, they're going to do. And if they're going to get them involved, just like they did in 1983 in Beirut, then so be it. I mean, there's no, they can't offer any significant resistance to Israeli pressure.
It looks
So
like,
they
I mean,
got
right now, it looks like it's the Iranians and Hezbollah are exercising restraint. They have been very, they haven't gone all out in retaliation against Israel. So does that mean Israel would just keep on creating more crazy provocations in hoping to get a reaction and hoping to ignite a wider regional war? Is that what we're looking forward to in the immediate future?
uh, yeah, well, Israel is mainly interested in getting the U.S. to physically intervene.
Yes.
How are they going to do that? They have to have something catastrophic happen to them for the U.S. to intervene. But at the same time, there are people in the Israeli government who are scared of this, who are scared of doing it. They don't have the guts to go through with it. Look, they killed Hezbollah's second in command. What happened? Hezbollah bombed their unit 8200 in Mossad. I mean, that's a big deal. That's been confirmed yesterday that they actually bombed it and killed people there. Uh, they said they killed the commander of the unit 8200, who is a very important guy. Um, that's not been confirmed yet, but they did kill people inside unit 8200. So that's Israel's top elite unit. These guys, they've shown that they can hit Tel Aviv anytime they want. They've done it twice, and they haven't been able. The Israelis haven't been able to stop them. So Israelis are plenty scared. They
Mm.
tried, they tried to infiltrate the border, not infiltrate, but penetrate to send a unit in, and that unit got smashed. That was like a week ago or something. An IDF unit got smashed. So Hezbollah is playing for keeps, and they're very powerful. And just as Israel hasn't been able to damage Hamas significantly, they haven't hurt Hezbollah at all until now. But Hezbollah has made them clear out of the north of Israel. I mean, they've had to abandon the north of Israel.
But
So they would like
what
to stage a yeah.
oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry. I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
So on the one hand, they want to have something big happen to in Israel to force the U.S. to intervene, but it could spin out of control. I mean, these guys are too much for them. You know, both Hamas and Hezbollah, and especially Hezbollah, are too much for them. Iran, they're out of the game. They're scared. They're not doing anything. I mean, the
So,
last time they tried a missile strike, they didn't hit anything. So Iran is out of the game. But Hezbollah and Hamas, they're enough to scare Israel.
hmm. But it looks like U.S. is more scared of Iranian retail. I mean, all the two aircraft carrier group are now in the Gulf of Oman. There are okay, we're running out of time again. Okay, so that was great. Well, maybe we have a few more minutes. I think maybe we'll just wrap it up for now. That was. Is there anything you like to add? If people want to follow you, AgitPapa, where do they go?
Well, they go here to Twitter, and then they just say so my handle is AgitPapa, so you just put at AgitPapa here, and you search, and then when this comes up, you say you want to follow. You have to send a follow request, and I have to approve.
Okay. Other than Twitter, is there other place you have your work posted?
Well, I got it on VK. You have to register there to read my
Mm.
articles. So
I
I got
I
a
I highly recommend people to go read this VK article. I mean, it's very detailed analysis on kind of the political infight between the different factions in the U.S. government, and because it's sometimes it's really hard to understand the U.S. government actions unless you realize we have like the different factions of oligarchs fighting for power, and they all have their own priorities. And I think the article did a great job breaking it down for us. Yeah, so well, that's we have let's see, we still have 8 minutes. I want to finish the time with about just staying on the Middle East for a second. So it looks like U.S. is really worried about Iran, and that's why they have two aircraft carrier battle groups parked outside the Gulf of Oman, to watch Iran. Now, but you're saying you don't think Iran will retaliate further or escalate from what they have already done, which was sending that 300 missiles to Israel.
Yeah, you know why they're in the Gulf of Oman? It's because they're not scared of Iran. They're scared of the Houthis. The Houthis. They can't go any further east. They can't go in the Red Sea.
But didn't Houthis get their missiles from Iran? I mean, like all their missile technology and missile stockpile, didn't that come from Iran, or is that from like the old Yemeni stockpile of missiles?
They're from Iran. Yeah, they're from Iran.
Okay, so Iran
I
is
mean,
more comfortable to let to support Houthis and Hezbollah to confront Israel directly than get themselves involved, right? So they because they don't want U.S. retaliation. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, they let the Iraqi Hashed, Hezbollah, the Syrians, the Houthis, they let them do their fighting for them
Hmm.
because they're in no shape to fight anybody. I mean, all the Iraqi units that went into the Iranian units that went into the Syrian war, fighting the jihadists, they got slaughtered. They either got slaughtered or they ran away. I mean, it was a debacle. So at the medal ceremony, Soleimani, he wasn't even invited. The Russians held a medal ceremony for all the people, all the heroes of the war. Soleimani wasn't even invited there. I mean, it was a terribly bad show for the Iranians. And
Why did the U.S. kill him? Or I mean, why did U.S. target Soleimani?
well, he was, of course, the Israelis' big bugaboo. I mean, the Israelis hate him. So if that's reason enough for Trump, Israelis say kill him, he's going to do it.
Sadly
But
true.
he did a big favor for Iran by killing him. I mean, because this guy, he was he was really mentoring incompetence in the IRGC, in the Revolutionary Guards. I mean, all his cronies were incompetents and corrupt, terrible, terrible people. I mean, he was even killing Iran's allies. I mean, the he killed one of the Hezbollah's military commanders.
Wow.
And yeah, uh, he killed his own number two because Khamenei at one point he wanted to, after ISIS destroyed the Iraqi army, Khamenei held Soleimani responsible for that, and he wanted to fire him and replace him with his number two, Hamedani. So Soleimani got rid of him too. I mean, this guy, he was terrible. He was really evil. So it's good that that Trump got rid of him for Iran.
For Israel, you mean? And
He did it
uh
for Israel, but it was to Iran's benefit, if you ask me.
okay. So basically it sounds like there might be more drama being created by Israel, but that drama might be contained because there's not going to be huge retaliation from Iran, and then Hezbollah had maintained a strong deterrent force for
Yeah,
Israel, and then the U.S. doesn't have to get involved. But it does mean that U.S. deployment military asset will have to be in the region for the time being, which means they're not going to be elsewhere like Western Pacific to come from China or providing backup for Ukraine. Um, that fairly accurate. That's
yeah, and it's open-ended because Iran keeps saying, we're going to do it now, we're going to do it next week. We're not going to say when we're going to do it. So it's the CIA kept saying like the CIA was saying this weekend that they're going to do it in 24 hours. Okay,
mm,
nothing happened. So how long are they going to stay there? It's open-ended. This is
okay.
ridiculous. Nothing is happening, but everybody's waiting for Godot.
But I mean, I saw an article saying there's a lot of Israelis are cracking under the psychological pressure of waiting for the big retaliation. So maybe that is their plan. Maybe just applying the psychological pressure by delaying this indefinitely. Um, well, that was great. I mean, I think I had covered everything I had hoped to cover in this session, and I look forward to more analysis coming from you whether on Twitter or on VK. And I very much will look forward to have you back on the show for future development, whether it's in Ukraine or in Middle East, because I really trust your analysis and take on things because I've watched you follow you since the Syrian war, and like I said before, you have been turned out to your analysis have turned out to be the most close to the truth on the ground. So thank you very much, AgitPapa, and I look forward to talk to you again.
Yeah, and right back at you because I mean you taught me everything I know about China. I mean
Thank you.
you're a true academy for foreigners like me trying to find out about China.
Thank you. Thank
And
you very
thank
much.
you for having me on. It was great. I really enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.